if you think about when we look ahead, as John and his colleagues at Politico have reported, House Democrats are still discussing the next steps. Judiciary Committee members have received little guidance from party leaders on how the panel will conduct the proceeding or the time frame for completing them. And based on what Abby just documented so astutely, you have a Republican Party with Senator Graham and others who don't want to break from President Trump. So this moves to the Judiciary Committee in the coming weeks, then eventually probably to the House floor. But what's the outlook for Democrats to get a Republican to come along? You've already mentioned some of the retiring Republicans aren't really there. Is this going to be a party line vote?
I see that at this point. I don't know the Republican leadership, Kevin McCarthy and other Republican leaders in the House, they don't think they're going to lose one member. And at this point, I think they're probably right. If they don't lose somebody like Will Hurd or Mike Turner, both of who publicly expressed dismay over the Trump's call when they first heard about it, I mean, I see it's very unlikely they're going to pick up anybody. It'd have to be a retiring member, somebody Trump can't touch, because this is Abby's point. They are impeaching a president in election cycle. Yeah. A first-term president, which has never happened before. And, he runs the party. And this particular president, he uses fear and intimidation on his own party. And, in a way that no president in our memory has ever done it. I mean, he's tweeting at Marie Yovanovitch in the middle of her testimony. It's extraordinary.
So what's your outlook on a Senate trial, Sue? Is it's Republican control?
I mean, I don't think this is the thing about the impeachment story is the outcome's never really been in doubt. I don't think at any point in this process anyone's truly believed that there's 67 votes to throw Donald Trump out of office. And I don't think that outcome has changed. The next chapter I think is really interesting is the White House has some decisions to make because the Republicans in the White House have complained a lot about the process. But as this shifts into judiciary, the rules of the game change. And the White House can send counsel into these sessions, including closed-door briefings. They can offer written testimony. They can ask questions. And they need to decide how much they want to engage in this process to present a better case for the president or continue to call it a sham process. And ditto in the Senate. How much are they going to engage in this process or stand back? And how much loyalty are they going to continue to demand? Are they demand calling Hunter Biden to the floor of the Senate? Are they going to give Republicans any room not to do that? I mean, his ability to jam his own party is much greater than Democrats right now.
And I'd point out one of the big moments in Clinton's impeachment was when Clinton's lawyer, David Kendall, cross-examined Ken Starr in the House Judiciary Committee, which could you see, what if Trump's lawyer tries to cross-examine Adam Schiff in the House? That could be fascinating. I'm not sure what happened, but I mean, the possibility could happen. And they've already talked about, well, maybe Schiff should be a witness on the Senate side. I don't even know if that's allowed, but the dynamics there could be absolutely fascinating.
Carol, you've long reported on the federal courts. When you think about Don McGahn, his case about testifying before the House Judiciary Committee, it's about to be decided by a federal court, and how they decide on Don McGahn, the former White House counsel, could affect whether John Bolton comes before Congress. Are House Democrats' hands tied a bit as they move forward because of the courts?
I think this situation is awkward for them. It's not impossible that we're going to hear the testimony of senior advisors, but basically Don McGahn, John Bolton, Pat Cipollone, all of them can stand on a very strong legal foundation that past courts have found. If you're a senior advisor to the president, if you are whispering in the president's ear, some of the things you all discuss are privileged and they're protected by executive privilege, deliberative privilege. You can make that argument. There's one little exception. It may be too late for this trial, but Harriet Miers, the Supreme Court ruled in that case that you have to come forward. You can decline to answer certain questions that implicate privilege, meaning a whisper about something you actually discussed with the president. But when it comes to your own actions, Mulvaney's actions, Bolton's actions, you should be allowed to testify and answer those questions. So the court may rule, go in, sit for the questions, answer the ones you want, decline the ones you think are privileged, but it all may be ultimately too late because this is going to go to the Supremes. The White House is not going to let a trial court judge tell them who goes into the witness box.
And so far, that strategy has been, I think, incredibly effective. It's changed the trajectory of this whole impeachment hearing because, as you pointed out, Carol, we're maybe halfway through an actual fact-finding mission here about what happened, and they can't get to the other half because the documents are not being provided, the call logs are not being provided, there are material witnesses who are not coming forward, and as long as that continues to be the case, and it seems like it's likely to be the case, Democrats can only go so far. They may be forced to write articles of impeachment only based on really a kind of half knowledge of what's going on or what went on over the summer when it came to Ukraine. And John Bolton still has an opportunity to do something. It's not clear what exactly he'll do, and that might move things forward a little bit. But I think still the absence of documentation has really hamstrung Democrats.
So what do we know when you're up at the Capitol about the articles of impeachment, the specifics about what we'll see from out of the House Judiciary Committee?
We don't know a lot right now. I think we're going to see, it's going to be what we expect inside the Judiciary Committee will be based on the Clinton model. There'll be 4 different phases. There'd be, what is an impeachable offense? That'd be opening phase. Then Schiff and maybe some of the other chairmen in the House will present a case. Then the Republicans will present a case, and then the draft and article impeachment. Are they going to use some of the information from the Mueller report? That's the big debate now. There's a lot of Democrats, especially on the Judiciary Committee, who would like to see that. They feel it plays into the whole pattern of the president's pattern of behavior, obstructing Congress and obstructing investigations. But there's also a danger to that and driving away any chance of any Republican support. They may do it if they don't think they're going to get any Republicans.
The only specific article that Adam Schiff has brought up time and time again is obstruction. Yeah. That the White House's unwillingness to provide this documents and data, fighting subpoenas, he has said time and time again will be considered evidence of obstruction and possible articles of impeachment. So it would be shocking if they move forward with articles if obstruction of the investigation isn't one of them. But how they structure this about the ask, about the withholding of the military aid, I mean, we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of what specifically Democrats are saying is the impeachable offense here. And I think it goes to the Republican defense, which they think is a good one politically, to say, don't look at the decision-making, look at the outcomes. In the end, Ukraine got the money. In the end, he met with the president. In the end, they never had to announce investigations. They think their best line of political defense.